That's probably gonna be the only bit of drums you hear. If you hear anything added onto this, that means I came back and messed with it. Hated or loved, I'm not holding grudge. I'm serious enough. Let's talk about my nuts. When you call me up, sitting in the tub with glistening bubs. My thinking is fuck. Glistening titties, glistening kitty, glistening booty in that bath for the serendipity, kicking it with me. We don't need to make sense right now about the things that make us feel shitty. Intensity can be limiting to the witty, vividly. They done made a truck out the Bentley, are you kidding? Prepped 50 gourmet meals with the 50. Rich nigga birthed in the Empire City. 70% of a nigga energy was put into mentally and putting infinity. The rest I was thinking if I can skinny dip through those lips, swim with Free Willy. She be like, really? You don't have control, or you always this silly? She ain't sitting here right now, though, feel me? I can come in 2 minutes, I can come in many. I can lick a clit until she cries, room spinning, vibrator between thighs, stare and her eyes trippy. Be the one guy who was not finicky, but chick, I am picky. It's Dicky, and Dicky likes glistening titties. I'm not holding grudge, I'm serious enough. Let's talk about my nuts. When you call me up, sitting in the tub with glistening bubs. My thinking is fuck. Glistening titties.
Alright, what's going on, y'all? So we said we was gonna get back on the dream tip. So here we go, another dream video. So this is a recent dream that I had, and it was relative to police. So police in the dream world means like authority. It could be actually the reflection of a person's own view of authority, or their own sense of authority, or their own authority as well. So, but it can also mean a couple of other things. It could mean like something it depends on like the interaction that you have with the law, like if they're trying to apprehend you or if you're trying to apprehend them or whatever the case may be. Now, shooting was involved with this dream. I was actually shooting. Now, shooting is when you decide to make a decision in the dream world, like in the subconscious mind. And that decision has something to do with authority, if I'm interpreting this correctly, right? So I must have been doing this out of something that I felt sternly about, something that I felt adamant about, something that I felt sure of. And, I was actually shooting at the law, at the police department. So in this dream, right, and this is rather quickly, I was with an Aquarius in this dream. So the Aquarius is standing there to the left of me, and we're surrounded by police, mind you. They're in uniform, they got all types of gear on and everything. And I'm under the impression that this Aquarius standing next to me has already initiated something that is, I guess you could say, dangerous, or at least along the lines of trying to serve justice in some type of way. Why they were administering it in that type of fashion, I am none the wiser. As I said, this dream just started off like this, right? So they're holding a machine gun. This is like I would say it was like a M4. I wouldn't even, like it wasn't an AK-40. This was like an M4 machine gun, and I believe the police actually carry those as well, the heavily armed ones, in New York anyway, probably in the major cities. So, he's holding this thing and he starts firing at them one shot at a time. So I grabbed the pistol from him. Well, I just grabbed his hand and I squeezed the trigger while holding his finger on it, and I made it go automatic. And I didn't like really look around to see blood splatter and any type of gore or anything like that to see if anyone was hit. I just started hitting off at the whole entire crowd of policemen. Now, with this dream, right, I had another dream afterwards, and this was the following day. This dream was pretty much similar. I was shooting again. So everyone, I gave my own interpretation and definition of what shooting is in the dream world. You guys do your own research and look it up as well to see what it means. It can mean, I think, a couple of different things, but I'm pretty sure it goes along the lines of having confidence and being on target and making a decision about something that is important, right? But however, get in the comment section or school me, inform me about something that I may have missed here. So here I am again shooting, and I'm in a warehouse this time. And inside of this warehouse, I'm with someone who is close to me. I would say someone that I care about. And, you know, it seems like they're being pursued. And I don't mean pursued in like a, you know, I couldn't be none the wiser at this dream either to understand whether they were trying to cause harm to this person that I cared about, whether it was bodily harm or whether it was like mental harm from like taking advantage of them. And I don't know if they were going to better their situation or better their life or ruin it. You know what I mean? My thing was I was making a decision to say I wasn't going to allow them to even make that decision. So I started shooting. So I'm shooting the whole warehouse up. Everything, like everybody moving. Like I'm hitting these people though. Like I'm watching it from like the actual, you know, crosshairs of the guns. Like I'm watching it happen. Like they're going down and getting hit up, ankles, knees, everything, chest, everything, and they're falling all over the place. So you know, it's like kind of like those video games. You know, you see the big crates and stuff in this warehouse or whatever. People are taking cover behind it and trying to shoot back or whatever the case may be. Now, towards the end of this dream, I could sense someone was trying to shoot back at me. There were a couple of memorable people in this dream, so I'm not going to name them. However, there were a couple of memorable faces in this dream, and you know they were trying to pursue me as well. So they're getting behind these crates, taking cover, shooting at me or preparing to shoot at me. So for whatever reason, like you know how you can slow down in a dream, like your movements begin to slow. So I began to slow a little bit, and then I noticed that my movement was being slow. However, I didn't panic. You know how sometimes like when you run in dreams and you start running slow and you panic because you're like, oh, why am I not moving fast enough or whatever the case may be. So I thought it was one of those instances. However, with enough mental energy, I caused myself to relax in the moment of actually slowing down and took the opportunity to raise the gun and take aim with a slower pace, and so I could be more accurate at actually hitting this person that was trying to hit me. And in doing so, that person like fled. I guess they got scared that I was actually conscious and really trying to hit them and get them out of there. So I woke up after this. All right. So these are two dreams that I had back to back, right? So now I'm going to explain another dream, and I'm going to bring it on in of why I'm discussing these dreams, right? So I had another dream, but I want to get all of the dreams out of the way so I don't like make this confusing, so I can go into this movie that I seen, a documentary that I seen just now. All right, so this next dream I'm having with another Aquarius, and I'm going to make the connection with Aquarius as well. I'm having a dream with this Aquarius, and they're sitting, we're like in this office type setting. You know, I can't really tell. I just know it was like near a window. Oh my goodness, like, yo, I'm just looking at the window. Let me find out. Like, I know that there was a window like behind this person, and he was holding a clipboard, and he was reading off the numbers to me, and the numbers were pertaining to the sales in Las Vegas, the sales that were being made in the Las Vegas casinos and along the lines of entertainment sales. So this dream occurred about a week before the shooting in Las Vegas happened from on top of the buildings. I would say in a few days, like a little less than a week. Now, I didn't have the exact information to be able to tell that, you know, that would be occurring. However, it was very clear that this was Las Vegas, the numbers that this person, this Aquarius, was reading off to me. So I'm thrown smack dab in the middle of the dream, right? So I don't really understand automatically, initially, what's going on and what we're even doing there. However, as they're reading it off, I'm starting to gain awareness of why they're doing this, because I was looking into my real life in the waking state and about sales in New York City. So the reason why this Aquarius was reading off the sales in Las Vegas to me was because they were concerned about the sales in New York City regarding me and entertainment. So I'm looking at my life in a waking state, and I'm like, I'm not doing, put it this way, in the waking state, I wasn't doing the type of numbers that they were reading off in regards to Las Vegas. Like, they were making sales, which you can understand Las Vegas. And it's not even to say that I'm not big as Las Vegas or I can't do as well as Las Vegas. I know that I was not doing those numbers. Now, instead of conversing and telling my assistant, because that's exactly what they were in this dream, that, you know, what my numbers were like or what the projections would be like, whatever the case may be, because I just figured out that I was in a dream, I thought about it and I said, you know what, give me a few days and let me think about that, and I'll get back to you, you know, what we're going to do as far as decision making goes and as far as sales goes in the entertainment industry. Dream over. All right. Okay. So all of the dreams are out of the way. So I'm watching this documentary yesterday. Documentary is called Third Eye Spies. Something about this documentary, now, not for nothing, I heard a story about this related to the gentleman, I think Mr. Price was his name, who he was an agent, he was a psychic, he used remote viewing to, find out secret stuff that no one in the world can understand how this dude was even finding this stuff out, right? Sort of like the stuff that I be talking about in some of my dreams and psychic phenomena, and I'll be like, stuff that I be talking about. Not saying that I was one of these guys. I'm not one of those guys because I'm not hired by the people that they were hired by. So I guess that's what makes the distinction and the difference between us. But this is why we're talking about this stuff on the channel, because we also do possess this type of skill if you hone it, right? So I'm watching this documentary and I'm familiar with the story of that guy, but there's more. There's more of these guys, and they were doing a plethora amount of work with the CIA, with the NSA, with the DEA, the Department of Defense. Like, they were doing contracting with a lot of these entities, right? So one thing that alarmed me is the beginning of how it even began. Like, America was not doing these types of experiments, all right? Russia had began doing these types of experiments, and Russia had like a manifesto that stated the best recruits for their paranormal program would be Americans who are interested in studying psychology, workings of the brain, paranormal experiences, and psychic abilities. So I'm like, okay. So when it gets to now the Americans, they're saying, okay, so why aren't we into this again? Like, why are they on it and we're not into it? So one of the facts that was brought up was that they are utilizing government money to fund their programs. Russia is, right? And I guess you could say that America was using taxpayers' money to facilitate the psych program that they began, because they said, okay, if Russia is doing it, we should at least look into this and take it into consideration. And this is not something that was top priority with the CIA and stuff. They thought it was pseudoscience from the beginning to the end, which this is not the whole entire CIA, but a strong enough section of them, especially the ones that went public and who was at the hierarchy or standpoint to make enough noise when it came time to go public. So these guys were starting their missions, doing missions, taking missions. Their accuracy was very high. They were finding, like, during the Carter presidency, they found like a plane that fell down, and it was a Russian plane at that, and they found it before Russia got to retrieve it. Countless missions, and they was actually speaking about the missions, the part of the documents that the CIA let be declassified for the documentary. Well, just declassified, period. I think they requested for it to be that way though. And so they was actually explaining these missions in the documents. These people were accurate. They were amazing. You know what I mean? Now, to me and people like you, this is something that, of course, is of interest. And even though you or I may not be at the level that these people were playing at, you understand what it is when you see this documentary and you see what these people are doing. And it's like amazing, right? So you would think that because they are completing these missions, and one of these guys even got a medal from the military for doing it. So you would think upon completing these missions that they would get, celebrated for it. And in some instances and in some communities and in some entities, they were. However, like in the beginning when it first started, I think when they first got wind of it, the public started around the 60s or the 70s, or some type of movement, maybe the civil rights movement was happening at that time, or the riots were occurring, and they were beginning it in colleges. Like, this is where the experiments would start, ran in colleges. So a lot of people and students and stuff were protesting it being done in the college and stuff like that. So it didn't get, popular kudos or whatever the case may be. So, these things are kept under wraps a lot, but people wanted to know. They wanted to let it be known what was being done with the taxpayer money, especially when they found out like this, there's something to this, So I say that to say this. Later on in the documentary, they stated how the head of the CIA at the time came forward and said, these missions weren't no good. It was a bunch of pseudoscience. It's a waste of taxpayers' money. But mind you, this program, this contracting went on for about 6 presidencies straight, right? However, the head of the CIA kept outing it. They had some journalists and stuff come by and psychologists and debunk it and say it's not true. It's it's pseudoscience. Kind of like what they said about astrology for so long until now. So This one guy who was actually explaining the story, who was one of the guys, who was like, he was in a conference one day, and a policymaker came up to them and pointed at him and was like, "You're doing the work of the devil," and stormed out of the conference. And then another policymaker walked up to him and whispered in his ear, "You're doing God's work. Keep it up, buddy." So he said, in one instance, I got both sides of the spectrum and wasn't sure which was which, and that was the scary part, And this is the guy who actually got the medal from the military and everything. So it made one. So eventually, the program had ended, and it just made me think, right? It made me wonder, like, why would Americans in the intelligence agency, right? Intelligence, inward, tell the agencies, the agents, inwardly, psychic, telepathic stuff, right? So I thought, okay, maybe possibly because it's being exposed or brought out into the front, then the CIA is just disregarding it or ignoring it, whether they believe it or want to believe it or not, right? It's supposed to be intelligent. So that might have been one of the reasons why. They also said that none of these missions helped shape the policy. So I've listened to the terminology very closely, because it's like, okay, if none of these missions and the successes of these missions helped shape policy, that's one thing for bureaucrats to shape policy. And, policy, law, two different things to my understanding. However, okay, it doesn't shape policy. I don't see how that should be a primary factor at all. So, but maybe I'm wrong. Probably, I could be wrong, but I thought maybe they used that terminology just to state it as the way it needed to be stated in public as well. It's like, okay, yeah, we do believe this stuff is going on. However, it doesn't shape policy, so it's not important. So part of me thought this is why they were coming out publicly stating it in this way. And then another part of me thought that these guys were serious, like these people in the CIA really did not like it, did not care for it. And a strong part of me did believe, and still does believe that. Now, as I said before, there were certain people in the CIA who were for it. They were with it. It was like, some of them came to these guys and was like, they want to go under and like pretty much run some experiments on themselves, because they believe that they have the ability to as well. And those were even successful, those trials. So this makes you think, right? So now, the reason why I'm bringing up these dreams and I'm bringing up this documentary and I'm bringing up the stories, because when the thing happened with the Las Vegas shooting on top of the building, right? Now, I told you a few days before that, I'm thinking about sales, and I'm in the dream, and I'm saying, give me a few days before I decide to do this or whatever. And then a few days later, this occurs. You know what I'm saying? So I know why I even said that in the dream. At that time, I couldn't comprehend why I would say it like that or address it that way. Now I do see it. I want you to just look at this though, right? This conspiracy theory that's attached to that shooting, stating that the guy who was the shooter, he had a lot of guns. He had a couple of planes that he owned, and I think some of that stuff has been proven. Like, he's actually an owner of a couple of planes. He used to work in the military or something. Like, he was a contractor for some type of missions or something like that. Don't quote me word for word, but look it up. Right. So this makes you think. And then there was like some story of where some CIA people crashed a plane over near Vegas. Wild stuff, right? And I'm like, is this for real? Like, are y'all for real with this? So I say that to say this. I believe I might have figured it out. Like, there's the intelligence versus popularity or faith-based dogma. Excuse me. And just because some people are inside of an intelligence agency does not mean that they promote intelligence. Their belief system might be attached to the dogma. And when I say dogma, I don't mean to just blame Christians for this. Don't twist my words up. However, I think the book of Revelations has a lot to do with this, to where it's like these things must occur according to some people. Like, these things have to happen. They have to play out revelations. And so again, intelligence verse, despite who may not want a verse, intelligence verse free will, if you will, right? Because it's like, if you think about intelligence and what is projected now with the Aquarius age upon us and accelerating probably at a rate that the revelation seekers did not expect or don't really warrant that much. So I believe that they are moving at a faster rate as well. So like to accelerate the whole revelation story. right? So when you're participating in those types of actions that need to be done, then you have to be hands-on, you have to be more materialistic, I guess, and you have to be more, there has to be more of a stage set, there has to be more of things happening and actually occurring, and all of the things that are happening behind the scenes, or people are communicating with their minds and their brains together to come up with this, this super intelligence, I guess, if you will, or what the true term of intelligence actually means is not suitable as for the plan that is set to be exerted, right? That's for the stage, that's for everyone to see, for the spectacles that are happening, such as a Las Vegas shooting, etc., right? These things need to be known, they need to be publicized, they need to be acted out, they need to occur, whether there has to be hypnosis, whatever is going on. Right now, speak about hypnosis, right? One of the guys who was one of the head psychics on this board actually died, and they thought of 3 reasons it might have happened. Is that the Russians either killed him because the Russians created this weapon that will accelerate, or should I say offset, the conditions that a person has, like a health ailment that a person has, if they use some type of device, right? Or some type of device that they had. So they thought that the Russians had did that because they had just recently made that weapon. They thought that possibly the CIA got him out of there, or it's just because he started working for the CIA about 4 months before he suddenly passed away in a hotel from a heart attack or something like that. Or he just really died from a heart attack, or whatever the case may be. One of those 3 things. So it makes you think again, like, would the CIA really try to take this person out? Because they were ringing bells behind the scenes. They were really completing missions, and it was to the point 4 days before his passing, he found the Chinese. They were actually developing a bomb, or some type of bomb that was supposed to explode, that they were working on, and he uncovered that, right, 4 days before he passed away. So it raises questions, and some people even said that he's still alive. It's just wild stuff, right? It's pretty drawn out documentary, so it was long. I watched the entire thing. It took me about 2 days though. I watched some of it on one day, the rest of it on another day. So it made me think, like, why, especially if Russia is supposed to be the arch nemesis, allegedly, right? Then if these people know how to conduct these type of mind experiments and really act them out, then why would America want to shun away from that? But here nor there, as I just said, 6 presidencies straight, the Americans did participate in it. It's just that the head or the hierarchy of the CIA did not approve of it, did not like it, did not want it, according to their words, right? So I say that to say this again. When people are, or even you, when you are experiencing paranormal activity, telepathic activity, dreams that are psychic, prophetic, symbolic, sends you messages about other people, and you believe or feel that it's supposed to get more attention, that it's supposed to get more praise, or even more looking into, the same way that some people in the United States did, and it's not getting that type of look, it's not getting that type of attention, I don't think you should worry about that type of stuff. That's just the conclusion that I came to. You know what I mean? And I know part of you may say, okay, well, to view and observe all of these things occur that are so treacherous and so just monstrous and just out of this, it's just atrocities, right? You feel like some of the stuff you may know or interact with people may, or I don't know, I'm just throwing this out there, may help people or help the overall situation, the bigger picture. That is possibly true. However, at the same time, I would say, depending, some of these things might be shown to you to save you. They might be shown to you to save people that are in these dreams with you. They might be shown to you just to know information about other people. You may know them, may not know them personally, but it's just like a reminder or some type of safety net for you as well. Maybe you're not supposed to communicate some of that information. I don't know, right? So I'm saying this, whether you are in the know intelligently about these types of things, secrets going on and stuff like that. I don't know if you're going to like do something with it that is justifiable in your own right. You may see the law being broken a lot. Like I just seen an article. I'm gonna put the article in the description box. I just seen an article about 3 kids shot in the head. In what state was that? Some state in the United States of America. Police shot 3 kids in the head, like 1-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old, something like that. And they were chasing this guy who allegedly robbed the pizza shop. I don't know if he did rob the pizza shop. I don't think he did though. And in the same token, right now the energy is, if there's going to be some type of gun control, then let the people who are supposed to have guns, and then take the guns from everyone else. And it's just like, possibly this is why I'm raising the gun at police and everything like this, because it's like the people with guns are bugging out right now. And it's vivid, like I said, like people who are participating in possibly this burning a third of the earth revelation thing are going to be heavily active. Maybe they're active, maybe they're triggered, like the Manchurian Candidate or something like that. This stems from the, what do you call that study that they was doing? I forget the name of that study that they was doing. But you heard of the Manchurian Candidate, right? When people get triggered by certain words or certain information or type of groups that they run around with and stuff like that, then, they participate in that, and you may not be able to interfere with that because it's supposed to happen. So it's like give place to wrath, like a biblical reference would say, right? And then you may have your own intelligence, and it segments you off from what you believe to be the law or what you perceive to be justice or whatever the case may be. And you may be into your own thing. And I'm saying this, I'm not even judging at this point, because like I said, if 3 kids could get shot in the head for nothing, if you're gonna take any guns, all guns should be in the conversation now, is pretty much what I'm saying, right? Because when those who are authorized to have it, look what's going on with it. So now, the day after I actually had those dreams, I was invited to an event, and I went to the event, and it was great. A lot of police presence was there. And I say it was great because from my experiences, I haven't ever seen something that organized and seen such a large police presence there to protect these people, children and everything involved, to, make you knew that if you went through there that you were not supposed to do anything or, harm these people in any type of way. It felt safe. Now, from my own perspective, it felt a little bit overwhelming as well, because that's how large the police presence was. And I personally thought that, an event of that stature didn't need that much police presence. I was just like, oh, wow, like that's just a bit much for what was actually occurring. But still, here nor there, it still was good. It was great to see that that type of power can be consolidated in one place. And again, this was something that was organized, right? So, now, there were big wigs there and everything, so I guess what you would call like chancellors or commissioners and, probably like political players and stuff like that. People in suits was there. Like it was like a huge, small event, and it kind of like baffled me a bit, right? Now, a part of me says this is great, and I think this is what part of my dream also played into, because I think when you look at the badge of the law, and when you see that when it's organized, it's more of a, okay, this is what they're there for, this is what they're supposed to be doing. And then when you look at police that are supposed to respond and come to the rescue of people who are, I guess you could say, innocent bystanders to crime, then it's a whole different dynamic that occurs. And that dynamic is possibly more attached to that whole Revelation third of the earth must burn, being active faith-based dogma, because, and maybe even more of a reason why I was squeezing these guns and shooting at the law and shooting in the warehouse and stuff like that, is because I think that type of environment kind of like eats itself in a way. So it's like, if you're, put it this way, this is what I'm saying. Again, I was invited to an event that went extremely well, organized, safe, everybody was safe, right? successful, I would say. Now, if you go maybe 20 blocks over, you're not going to see that same type of thing. The environment is going to be so thick with crime that if you do hear any type of gunshots, or if you do see drug selling or just crime, right? I don't even need to single it out. Any type of crime, then you will not or should not even expect to see police respond. You shouldn't. And if they do, they might respond in a way that is maybe shaking people down for their money, shaking people down for their guns, not even arresting them, just taking it, doing whatever they want to do with it. You know what I'm saying? The type of stuff you see in the movies. But this is what you expect when the events are not organized, and then the law is not purposely put there for a function. You understand what I'm saying? Anything apart from that, they're just responders to 911 calls, and who knows how long they're going to take, depending on where you live. And then, you know, they'll just blame it on, or society can simply just blame it on crime in your area, criminals, failed the educational system, X, Y, and Z, right? I understand it though. Like, I'm not anti or supporting or anything of it. I'm really just coming full service to explain this dream and really trying to make sense out of the dream, or what I possibly could get from this, right? So one more thing that's interesting about this, I'm gonna leave y'all with this. Was it the same day? The next day, probably, if not the same day, it was the next day. I was going to get on the bike to go take care of some business, right? So as I'm boarding the bike, I see these guys run around a corner. It's a broad daylight. They run around a corner, one of the dudes, and he got like a scooter in his hand. It's like a little kid scooter, you know what I'm saying? A little blue jump. I'm not trying to get nobody locked up, you know what I'm saying? Even though it was foul, you know what I'm saying? Some little kid is missing a scooter, you know what I'm saying? So, and I know because I'm overhearing the conversation, it's just like, yeah, man, look at it, yeah. They're trying to see how good it works, so he brings it to his boys so they can look at it with him, and like, oh, they checking it out. He's like, you know, riding on it to see how good it works and stuff. He's like, we just got to get this fixed, and then we could get rid of it. We could sell it. They was trying to sell it. So, you know, they started looking at me and everything, and I'm just like looking at them like, it's foul, but, you know, I ain't got nothing to do with it. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, shorty. I don't know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? But I can't help but see them. They're like right in front of the bike, right? So, now mind you, police happen to ride by at the very same moment that I'm walking towards the bike. So they see the guy, well, I don't know, right? But put it this way. They bent the corner behind me the same time that the guy was running with the scooter over his shoulder. Brought it down, sat it down, started running, and had that conversation. Paddy wagon rolled right past me, right? Rolled right past us. So, you know, it just gives me a signal. You understand what I'm saying? To say, okay, all of this data that you've been thinking about, researching, and even watching in your spare time and documentaries, when you connect the dots and put all of these pieces together, it makes sense, right? He was in an environment, like I just stated, that was heavy with crime. A crime was actually committed, and then here goes the law, the people who are authorized to actually prevent this stuff from happening, or I guess, you know what I'm saying? That's what they're supposed to do, right? Fight crime and investigate. And here they are, either none the wiser, or just don't want to have anything to do with it, don't think it looks suspicious enough to actually stop and, you know, question, investigate, whatever the case may be, right? So it just goes to show and confirm what I was actually already thinking. So again, you know, I'm just having this life experience. I don't truly know how to confirm if it's this other than that. I'm just having this experience and I'm telling you what it is. You know what I'm saying? And possibly this is how it connects and relates to my dreams and what's happening in the waking state. So, you know, I'm correlating what's happening in the waking state with what happened in my dreams. Now, as far as the sales go with Las Vegas and stuff like that, I think a lot of that just has to deal with, again, the participation of, you know, as I said before, a third of the earth burns, and it's like fire and ice. So it's like, you know, the wealth transfer, a lot of wealth is being transferred because of the rigidness being stopped. Like, they used to be real rigid, like in the 50s and the 60s when these stocks were being built, like Campbell Soup and stuff like that. Like, you really had to be in the know in order to actually get stocks and stuff like that. You could not play the stock market like people are playing the stock market right now, right? We look this stuff up, I'm not kidding. So everything was real tight and rigid. And it's like, as America got wealthy, they said, okay, we're going to open up the floodgates. And I think it's time for this, though. Like, I don't think this is just this is something that's planned. This is something that is written. This is something that is documented. It's something that has to be acted out. So it's like the fire is going to break the ice. If you look at the signals and look at the signs of the times with the global warming and stuff like that, right? Ice caps melting, and that's kind of like symbolic to the flow of finances being freed up for people to get rich and people to get wealthy and people to do their thing, to where back in the days it was about who you know, not what you know. You know what I'm saying? Or what you did. So now it's like the floodgates are open and you can really obtain access to resources that were not available years ago. So it's like fire is breaking through the ice. So again, if a third of the earth is supposed to be burned and we're utilizing fire as this type of substance that is to do it, then that is why this is being acted out and accelerating so quickly. So you look at in terms of sales in Las Vegas, Nevada, and it's like, okay, yeah, it's a lot of activity going on over there that is material, right? That is entertaining, but more along the lines of material, because anything could be entertaining and it does not have to be so bright lights, big city, right? So that's that one way, and then there's the other way, which is just like pretty much intelligence. Like if you are on a spiritual path and you don't feel like being so material, then you kind of like fall inside of another checkbox. You get what I'm saying? So I think I just fell inside of another checkbox in a way of doing things when I decided to say, well, just give me a few days and let me think about that, right? Because possibly I may have had these grandiose thoughts of operating in a way that Vegas operates. You know what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden that happens, and it's like, oh, is that, maybe you want to rethink that. Is that what you want to do? You see what's going on there? So you know what I mean? So but you get in where you fit in. You know what I'm saying? Even if you are a participant of a third of the earth burning in some type of way, or you're not. You know what I'm saying? Play your game. You know what I'm saying? I just wanted to put this information out there. We said we're going to speak about, somebody said they wanted to speak about dreams again. It's been a while since I did a dream video, so I decided to do that on this note. And y'all let me know what's going on with y'all, and I'll get back with y'all when I can. I'm out.